All right. Thank you so much for joining. I'm going to let folks trickle in as that happens, but we're going to go ahead and get started. I know Roger has a full agenda for us here for our creative intermission. So hello, everyone. My name is Bridget Eckert, and I'm the Director of Marketing and Communications with the Indiana Arts Commission. And welcome to the Indiana Arts Homecoming. I hope you have enjoyed the keynotes and all the sessions so far. I know we have enjoyed hosting you. I'm pleased to welcome you to Creative Intermission, the Origami Jungle. Today's session will be led by Roger Stremming from the Knox County Public Library, my hometown library. So I'm excited to have Roger here. Before I turn it over to him, I'm going to go ahead and just go over a few things to get us started. So during Roger's demonstration, you are asked to go ahead, just keep yourself on mute. And this is until the Q&A. I'm going to say Roger and I have talked. I think just keep yourself on mute until you have a question. If you have a question, feel free to pipe up and let Roger know, and he will help you in real time. But until that time, go ahead and keep yourself on mute so we can give him our undivided attention. Feel free to also utilize the chat function to introduce yourself and ask questions throughout the session. But again, feel free to pipe up too and ask questions. If you'd like to rename yourself in Zoom, you can do that by hovering over your image, clicking the three dots and selecting rename. Captioning is available during this session and throughout the whole conference. You can turn those captions on by clicking the closed caption button in the bottom nav bar. If you have any questions or tech issues throughout the session, please feel free to send me, Bridget IAC, a direct message in the chat. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to you, Roger. Take us away.
All right. Well, hi, everyone. Thank you for having me, long-time listener, first-time caller. And we are going to have a little bit of a chill in-between session. My plan is we're going to learn about this program that we did this summer at the library, and then we'll also, let me see if I can pin myself so you can see me better. Is that better? Thumbs up? I think that worked. So I'm going to show you guys what we did this summer. It's a program called the Origami Jungle. And then we're going to fold some paper. So if you have origami paper and want to play along at home, feel free to get that out. If not, feel free to relax and hang out with us for a little bit. And like Bridget said, if you guys have any questions, feel free to pop them in chat, either directly to me or just to everyone, or you can just unmute and announce yourself. And we can get stuff answered. So let's look at my things. Hooray! I love it when tech actually works. All right, so the Origami Jungle. What is that? This is what the Origami Jungle was. Excuse the horribly blurry photo, but this is me standing amongst this art project we did at the Knox County Public Library here in Vincennes. Like Bridget said, I'm the youth services manager here, and what that means is that I do programming, collections, everything basically at ages 0 to 18, so kids and teens. And at the library, one of our main programs every year is the summer reading program. And if you're not familiar, the point of the summer reading program is to provide an incentive for kids and teens to read over the summer to help prevent what's known as the summer slump. That's where some of the information they gain from one school year isn't retained to the next. And there's summer reading programs have existed for a very long time. And there's a lot of really good evidence backing any sort of brain activity over the summer kind of helping kids retain that information from one year to the next. So this summer, our program was Tails and Tales. That's T-A-I-L-S and T-A-L-E-S. It's very cute. So it was all animal themed. And as we were prepping for this, same as everyone else, we ran into the issue of what do you do in a summer reading program where you have people coming into the library? This isn't quite 2020, where in 2020 we didn't have anybody in the library until the very end of our summer. So now this year looks different even from last year, where we're dealing with, we need to put out activities, we need to do stuff, have interesting things, but we can't do in-person programming like we prefer to. So we thought of some kind of, as many libraries and many different organizations have done, take-home crafts, right? Everybody loves them. You put all the stuff together in a single kit, people can take them home, joy is had by all. We've done some of that in the past, and we actually did some over the summer. However, I was looking for something where we could tie it into a larger program. And as this says here, our idea was to use origami as a way to connect patrons asynchronously, which is a fun word that we've had to learn over the pandemic. And I wanted people to feel, especially as we're trying to make it through this real life plot twist, that there was a connection, that there was still that sense of community, right? Something trying to connect the dots a little bit better than something like art kits could just do on their own. And so that's why we had this idea for a sort of collaborative art project. And origami sort of naturally filled that. It's very easy to put together. It's easy for families to learn and to do. And it's fun, right? And it looks cool when it's all hung up together. So here's a couple more pictures before we get into it. This was our little craft table. That's where we would distribute the bags. You can see I've got a few here that we're gonna put together. It just came in a little Ziploc. There was our wonderful librarian Diana did a ton of work on this and actually copied out book pages and shrunk them to like fit inside the bag and everything so that they would have full color images of what to do instead of like a written list for every single thing. So we gave out these craft bags. We paired that with some of the information, nonfiction books, fiction books we had for kids about the animals, right, to tie it into our larger mission, to get kids to read and to get them doing something over the summer, and tied it into some of our rewards over the summer. So we did like a badge system where we, for certain tasks, they received a little button. So we sort of integrated it into our overall summer reading program. And as you can see on the picture on the left, we ended up, this is right in front of our main circulation desk, like directly overhead as you're checking out at the front desk. Right in front of the main doors. And so it created this wonderful visual of all this color, all of this life as you came into the library. And we really felt it was a lot of success. We felt it was a success. We got to watch it grow over the summer, which was maybe my favorite part. It's one of the coolest things that I think I've done so at the library, or had the chance to work on at the library. So that's what we did. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna walk us through one of our easy kits. I'm gonna transition back to me. Hi everybody, I'm big now. So we got this kit. I've grabbed two. This one is turtle. I think we're gonna put together the turtle because that's kind of my favorite. But we had a bunch. We had 3 different animals and 3 different difficulties, from easy, medium, and hard. And so that way, it wasn't just like everyone could participate. From small kids up through teens, we had things that would present a challenge. And I remember we were kind of setting this up, and I remember I think it was my director, Emily, mentioned that, just because people are older might not mean that they're ready for advanced origami. And I was like, that's very true. And we had some younger kids who were very into it and were able to do this sort of advanced origami. Even beyond like the kits that we had, I mean, we had a couple of parents who told us that this kind of engaged their kids, right? This got them thinking about origami. This got them thinking about doing this on their own. And so they went out and got origami paper. They got books on their own, and they were starting to do it as a hobby themselves. And we can't do anything better than that. That's awesome. And to kind of help kids along with that, what kind of librarian would I be if I didn't promote all of our fun books that we have? I think all of these mostly came out of a beginner origami book. And I would suggest, if anyone's interested in trying something similar, finding a beginner's book. It was really a great way. That beginner level is a great like introductory point, because you can make a really great animal. I think that's the important part, is that if they get to fold stuff that looks like an animal, they can immediately go like, oh, wow, that's a turtle, that's a pig, I know that. Let me show you some of the stuff. So there's a penguin, this lovely paper too. And you can see it doesn't have to be perfect. We had a lot of fun on some of them. The kids decided like, okay, well, maybe my penguin doesn't quite look like the other penguins. Maybe he's a chicken. We had some songbirds. We had some whales. A lot of really good stuff. And what we would do is we would use the paper, the hole punch, and punch a hole in the animal. Here's a green penguin. And run some fishing line and then hang it from the ceiling. Thanks, Angela. And really, yeah, like, I mean, that's all it took. It was a bit of a staff investment. We can get into that a little bit later. Because a positive to all of this is that we had a ton of interest. I'm going to start folding, so if you hear me kind of pause to look at my papers, that's what I'm doing. I'll leave it open. What do you guys think? So this is what we're going to make. I hope you guys can see it okay. That's our turtle. I'm thinking each kit would come with these lovely little sheets that have the instructions on them. You can kind of see she actually copied the page and then reduced the size down, so then she could cut it and fold it so that it would fit into the paper, or into the Ziploc bag. Excuse me. Thank you, Diana. And then we would provide in each kit 3 sheets of the origami paper. And we tried our best. So you can see like there's a turtle one. We have this lovely green in there. That's completely throwing off my white balance. We would try to give them something that would resemble the animal, vaguely as much as we could. So for example, there's like a plain green one in the turtle one, or like a plain blue one for the penguins or the whales or something like that. But then you have fun stuff, right? And so we ended up with I don't have them. The kid actually took it home because it was so good. It was one of our favorites, the Polka Dot Pig. We had this lovely, it was like white with multicolored polka dots, and the little girl who folded it did a great job with it. And it's sort of things like that where even amongst all of this sort of jungle, right, of all these different animals and the trees and stuff that we made that were hanging from the ceiling, when people came in, every time they could pick out theirs, right, they could say, oh, did mine get hung up? And then they'd kind of walk around and go, there it is, which is fantastic. And what we wanted to kind of build the sense of belonging in this community and participating in this really neat event, even though they're participating at different times. But then as people were looking for theirs, they might see one that's really cool, and then they might want to do another kit, right? Like, oh, I kind of want to do a pig now. Oh, they had whales? I didn't see that last time. That sort of thing. And it encourages them to come back and do it again. It encourages them to go back to that craft table and see the books that we set out for them. It's really good. So some positives about this. I mentioned the community. I'm going to start folding. I need to do more folding. So we're going to fold it in half first. Positives, really this community effort. Having kids especially feel connected to something like this and try to really, go beyond themselves and push themselves in this artistic way. And I don't want to make this sound, I felt weird kind of suggesting this because I like this project, obviously. I think it's really neat. But I felt a little weird because I feel like this isn't new. If you look up, origami exhibits or hanging origami, you guys would know better than I would. I'm a librarian, not an artist. There was an installation at I think it was the Indiana, is it the State Museum? I'm drawing a blank. It was a bunch of hanging books. Is the point I'm trying to get at. It was there for a couple of years, and that was one of the things that we drew inspiration from. Was we thought, as librarians, we're nerds. Thank you. Yeah. See, I do. Thanks, Bridget. There was an installation of these hanging books, and it's such a dramatic. There's just something about the way that it transforms space. If you, I folded in half and then half again, so we're kind of in quarters. If anyone is playing along at home, it really does change your space, and there's something really cool about taking this normal space and just filling it with like little dots of color and stuff. It was neat to see everyone who interacted with us at the front desk. You can't stand underneath this and not make some kind of comment or be like, or look around, right? And so even this very mundane, it's the front desk at the library. It's where everybody goes through as they're using the library, as they're ready to check out, as they're grabbing a guest pass to use the computers. It became not just this transactional place, but also, this piece of artwork that they're standing in. Oh, thanks, Bridget. Yeah, I was going to ask if you could link that. And yeah, it's fantastic. And it's just striking. And standing in or under it, you really do get this sense of, it does change a place. Let's see, how am I doing on time? Okay, we're doing all right. It's not 3:30 yet. I'm folding little tabs now. I think, if I remember correctly, this is going to be a nose, but I always forget. All right. Don't tell them. And an important thing we learned as we made origami, because I folded quite a bit, and I had never really done that before. It does not have to be perfect. And that's kind of the fun. Like I said, we had some kids who would fold it, and the penguin would not be a penguin when it came out the other side. So then you get to play, this sort of fun improv with it, right? Like, okay, well, what is it? Is it a chicken? Is it that sort of thing? So gently opening out the top corner. So yes. Hi, Tony. So we've got, so I had folded it into, I put that chat box directly where I needed it. So I had folded it into like quarters, right? And then you fold little triangles in towards the center. I'm doing my best to like Bob Ross here, but so now this one's kind of weird because you have to like push this seam out. That's not going to make any sort of sense. But you basically like push that down and flatten the paper to make a triangle shape. So let's see. And so I'm curious because this isn't a new idea. I think you could really do this with a lot of, and not just origami, but like a lot of different ideas to transform spaces. And I think that's really the idea that I want to kind of put out there for you all. Oh, it goes the other way, I see. So we're folding this guy out. My fold's not very good, but that's the direction it's supposed to go, is you're making like a little large base triangle. So I think in terms of do's and don'ts, because I did say, I think in the description at one point I did say like a framework. Do's and don'ts. Do have fun with it. We really, I mean, the best successes we had with this were when we really just kind of got playful and kind of ran with that sort of childlike yes and idea. We also, I think a do that you should remember is if you're gonna have people take their art back, make sure they sign it. That was something we weren't great about at the beginning. So we ended up with a lot of animals hanging from our ceiling that we really didn't know who they belonged to. So I've got this little diamond now, and now we're doing it for the other side. So now you're folding, you should have a big diamond guy at this end, and now you're folding small guy this way. All right. As far as things I would do differently next time, I do think, besides putting kids' names on the stuff so they can actually get them back, I would love to do more programming alongside it, which was just a result of, you know, our current position in time and space. I couldn't do a lot of what I would want to do. We had, for the pandemic, we had a lot of success with a program called the Explorers Club. See, we now have two little triangle or diamonds on either side. And the Explorers Club was the sort of like almost like nonfiction programming. I don't think I'm gonna finish my turtle, but you guys, I hope you had fun. And it was focused on a lot more like educational stuff and like sort of exploring different topics. And I would have loved to do something that was focused on the nonfiction aspect. I say nonfiction, I'm a librarian, that's how I decide things. But learning more about like the factual and tying that into real life animals and their counterparts. Tying it into community would be cool. Anything like that. So before we go, does anyone have any questions, comments, concerns?
That's a great idea from Tony to keep track, make a numbered sheet and have them sign it.
Yes, that's also a great way. You're good. That's also a great way because this was primarily for kids, right? They were the ones bringing them back. We did have a lot of people taking out the kits in total, and we didn't like block people. If you had a certain number of, if you had a limited time, that would also be another negative that we had was we had so much demand for the kids that it essentially became one of our staff members' job for like the entire summer. Was like restocking the craft table, which included all of our origami. So depending on how many you wanted to put out there, you know, it can get, especially if you're creating sort of like the in-depth full scale thing, like it can be a bit of a time investment. So anything you could do to like prevent some of that.
Yeah, to streamline that. Well, I don't know about you guys, but my turtle ended up looking more like a paper airplane, but that's fine. I'm going to go out and send it on to some of my colleagues, maybe write a little note or something. But this was so much fun. Thank you, Roger, for encouraging us to think outside the box and to draw inspiration from things that we see other places. There's something that we used to do whenever we would go to conferences, and now we do virtually, is if you hear a good idea, take it, do it. There's nothing wrong with that. We're all here to learn from each other and give credit to that inspiration when the time is right. So really appreciate you, Roger, reminding us of that. Before we close and I send you off to your next breakout session, Roger, what are you excited about coming up for the library?
Well, we have our big holiday programs, so that's going to be really exciting. We do a Polar Express event every year, which means, fingers crossed, we'll get back to that, where we'll do hot cocoa and pajamas and Christmas carols and lots of good stuff. So, totally unrelated, there was actually a suggestion on a way that we could tie origami into that too. So hey, it all kind of comes full circle.
Yeah, that's so awesome. Well, I think we're all in the same boat. We're hoping that our holiday plans can get back to somewhat normal this year. But thank you so much for showing us a way to be creative and work in the times that we're working. This has been super helpful and super fun. I hope you all have really enjoyed your time here with Roger this afternoon. This is our last creative intermission of the day. A good one to knock it out of the park with. And now you're on your way to your next breakout session. So head on over to Sked and check that out. Join another session. And I hope you have a great rest of your Indiana Arts Homecoming day one of our conference. I was gonna say concert. I tell you what, it's the end of the day. It's the end of the day. Thank you, Roger.
Yep.
Really appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.